So people are pretty mad at FIFA right now, and with good reason, because one of its three co-hosts, the United States, is currently in the throes of authoritarianism. And even the last two World Cups had problematic hosts, such as Qatar and Russia, and we will get back to that later. FIFA actually has a pretty long history of putting the World Cup in some pretty unfortunate places. Now, if we want to get technical here, basically every country in the world is problematic to some degree. If you dig deep enough, you can find something on even the smallest, most obscure nations. There's almost always something messed up or traumatic or problematic to unpack. However, what we're going for here are nations which showed a very blatant and open disregard for anything considered positive, right? So things like international law, things like human rights, etc., etc. Things like press freedom, freedom of speech. There's been a ton of hosts even before recent times that really don't fit the mold of an ideal major sports event host. A lot of nationalists from around the world are not going to like this video, but let's get started. How about Italy in 1934? This was only the second ever World Cup, but the fascist takeover of Italy by Benito Mussolini and his people was already over a decade old by the time this World Cup started. Now, alongside Germany's infamous dictatorship, Italy's fascist regime is one of the most well-known and studied, so I'm not going to go over details of the things that they did, the things that they believed. You already know what they believed, you already know what they did. It would only be after a few years that the Second World War would start in Europe. Now, let's skip a few decades and go to 1970. This is when Mexico hosted the World Cup. While not as infamous as some of its counterparts, no pun intended for the shirt that I'm wearing, Mexico was in the midst of its own one-party rule. The PRI ran Mexico from approximately the end of the 1910s Mexican Revolution to the year 2000. Censorship, rigging elections, etc., etc. Mexico actually hosted the World Cup as a substitute in 1986, and the PRI was still in power at that time, though they were starting to decline. Argentina, 1978. Just a few years before this World Cup, Argentina was taken over by a military junta, literally an alliance of anti-leftist and anti-communist people that suppressed any kind of, scent or hint of leftism and anyone else who challenged their ideas, and they did all of the usual dictatorship things. Lack of press freedom, bullshit elections, extrajudicial killing, unjust imprisonment. That period of Argentinian history has been unflatteringly named the Dirty War, to refer to the operations of the anti-communist alliance. Now, the next openly problematic host was Russia in 2018. Considering the current day controversies around the United States hosting and the Qatar one before it, sometimes the Russia one flies under the radar. But that one was pretty egregious too. I mean, Vladimir Putin's iron grip over Russia is pretty well known at this point, but 4 years previous to the 2018 World Cup, Russia had annexed Crimea and had been funding a pro-Russian insurgency in the east of Ukraine, which was a precursor for their full-scale invasion in 2022. And all the usual bells and whistles of authoritarianism, dictatorship, autocracy, whatever you want to call it, Russia has in spades. Qatar 2022. Same thing, all the usual dictatorship things, but also highly publicized was its use of migrant labor to build their stadiums and facilities for that World Cup, working conditions being infamously not good. Thank you for watching.